The maintenance corridors of Deep Space Transit Station 84 were never meant to be beautiful. Their utilitarian design of exposed pipes and cramped passages served a single purpose: to keep the massive structure functioning as thousands of vessels passed through its docking ports each cycle. For Devin Chen, these dark and narrow spaces had become home over the past 3 years. He preferred the solitude of the maintenance tunnels to the bustling main corridors above. Down here, among the humming of power conduits and the steady thrum of life support systems, he could focus on his work without the chaos of the station's constant stream of travelers. But today, something was different. The reading on his diagnostic tablet showed an unusual power drain in Section 7, near the temporary holding bays. These bays were meant for short-term storage of sensitive cargo, but Devin had learned early in his career that sensitive cargo often meant things station authorities preferred to ignore. As he approached Bay 7C, the power fluctuations grew stronger. They weren't dangerous, not yet, but they weren't normal either. The source seemed to be coming from a privately chartered bay, registered to a merchant vessel called the Stellar Wraith. Devin had seen enough ships come through to know that legitimate merchants rarely chose names that sounded like they belonged in a pirate hull of it. The maintenance access panel was behind the bay's environmental control unit. As Devin worked to trace the power anomaly, he heard something that made him freeze, a sound that didn't belong among the mechanical ambient noise of the station. It was a melody, haunting and beautiful, but filled with such profound sadness that it made his chest ache. Following the sound led him to a small vent near the floor. Through the grating, he could see into the cargo bay itself. What he saw made his blood run cold. The bay was dominated by a large containment field, its energy barrier shimmering with an oily purple hue. Inside was a being unlike any Devin had encountered in his years on the station. The alien's form was vaguely humanoid, but that's where the similarities ended. Their skin had a crystalline quality that seemed to catch and reflect light in impossible ways. What appeared to be hair was actually a cascade of fine, luminescent filaments that shifted color with each movement. But it was their eyes that caught and held Devin's attention. 3 of them, arranged in a triangle, each one containing swirling galaxies of gold and silver. The alien was singing. Though their mouth didn't move, the melody seemed to emanate from their entire being, resonating with the containment field itself. Devin had heard stories of the crystalline chorus, a species whose very existence was tied to cosmic harmonies. They were supposed to be myths, legends told in deep space bars by drunk pilots. Yet here one was, caged like an exotic animal. As if sensing his presence, the alien's song stopped. All 3 eyes turned toward the vent where Devin washed. There was no fear in those eyes, no panic, only a deep, ancient wisdom and something that might have been hope. "They will kill her." The whispered words made Devin jump. He turned to find Usha, one of the station's maintenance droids, hovering silently behind him. The droid's optical sensors dimmed in what Devin had learned was their equivalent of concern. "The Stellar Wraith's crew, they are not merchants," Usha continued. "I have accessed their vessel's history. They are hunters, specializing in acquiring rare specimens for private collectors. The crystalline one will not survive the journey to their buyer." Devin looked back through the vent. The alien had moved closer to his position, their crystalline features catching the dim light. He knew he should walk away, file a report that would be ignored, return to his routine, pretend he hadn't seen anything. That's what everyone else did on Station 84. It was safer that way. But as he met those 3 cosmic eyes again, Devin knew he couldn't do it. Maybe it was because he still remembered being the small kid that others looked away from when bullies cornered him in school. Maybe it was because his grandmother had taught him that looking away from wrongdoing made you part of it. Or maybe it was simply because, in that moment, he recognized the universe had placed him exactly where he needed to be. "Isha," he said quietly, "how much do you know about the station's security systems?" The droid's optical sensors brightened. "Enough to be dangerous, as humans say. Are you planning something inadvisable?" Devin smiled, already pulling up the station's maintenance schedules on his tablet. Absolutely. Want to help save a myth. The droid hummed, their processors whirring as they calculated probabilities. This course of action has a high likelihood of resulting in termination of employment, possibly termination of existence. Probably, Devon agreed, beginning to map out the station's camera blind spots. But some things are worth the risk. As he worked, the alien song began again, softer now, like a whisper of starlight. But this time, beneath the sadness, Devon could hear something else in the melody. Hope. The next 12 hours aboard Station 84 became an intricate dance of timing and preparation. Devon had never considered himself particularly brave or clever, but necessity has a way of bringing out hidden strengths. With Aisha's help, he mapped out every security patrol, every camera blind spot, and every potential escape route. The Stellar Wraith's crew maintains a regular pattern, Isha reported, projecting a holographic schedule from their optical array. They visit local establishments during station night cycle, leaving minimal security. However, they are due to depart in 36 hours. Devon nodded, studying the maintenance shaft layouts on his tablet. That gives us one shot, tonight. He looked up at his robotic companion. Isha, you don't have to be involved in this. If we're caught, my primary directive is to maintain station functionality. Isha interrupted, their voice module producing what might have been a hint of amusement. I would argue that allowing the trafficking of sentient beings impairs that functionality. Besides, my ethical subroutines have already committed to this course of action. Devon smiled. It was good to have an ally, especially one who could hack security systems. They spent the rest of the day gathering supplies. An emergency pressure suit, spare power cells, a handful of maintenance tools that could double as makeshift weapons if needed. Devon also traded his entire month's salary for a black market universal translator from a Venusian merchant who asked no questions. As station night cycle began, Devon made his way back to Bay 7C through the maintenance tunnels. Isha had already looped the security feeds, giving them a narrow window of opportunity. The hard part would be disabling the containment field without triggering alarms. The field's power draw is routed through secondary systems. Isha's voice came through Devon's earpiece, likely to avoid standard monitoring. I can create a cascade failure that will look like routine power fluctuation. Devon positioned himself at the access panel, tools ready. Do it. The lights in the corridor dimmed momentarily as Isha executed their plan. Inside the bay, the containment field flickered once, twice, then disappeared with a soft hum. Devon didn't waste a second, pushing through the maintenance access door into the bay proper. The crystalline being was already standing, their luminescent filaments swirling with patterns of blue and silver. Up close, they were even more striking, nearly 2 meters tall, with crystalline features that seemed to shift and flow like liquid starlight. Devon held up the universal translator. I'm here to help, he said quickly. But we don't have much time. The alien's response came not in words, but in a cascade of musical tones that the translator struggled to process. Finally, it managed. Why would you risk yourself for one you do not know? Because it's right, Devon answered simply. And because no one deserves to be caged. A new pattern of lights rippled through the alien's crystalline form, something that might have been approval. I am Lyra Song of the Third Harmony, they said through the translator. My people call your kind, the short-lived ones. Perhaps we have misunderstood your species. Save the philosophical discussions for later, Isha interrupted through the comms. Security sweep in 4 minutes. Devon handed Lyra Song the pressure suit. Can you wear this? We need to move through some depressurized areas. The alien adjusted their form, somehow flowing into the suit in a way that human physics said should be impossible. Your technology is primitive, but it will suffice. They were halfway to the maintenance tunnel when the first alarm sounded. Unauthorized access detected in Bay 7C, the station's automated system announced. Security teams en route. Well, Devon said, helping Lyra Song into the tunnel. This is where it gets interesting. He sealed the access panel behind them, just as heavy boots could be heard approaching the bay. "Your species has an unusual definition of interesting," Lyra Song observed as they moved quickly through the maintenance shaft. "You have no idea," Devon replied, consulting his tablet's map. "Isha, we need a new route, and maybe a miracle." The droid's response was interrupted by a deeper alarm, the kind that made Devon's stomach drop. "Alert! Unauthorized vessel powering up in Bay 7C. All security personnel converge." "The Stellar Wraith's crew is returning early," Isha reported. "They are initiating launch procedures." Devon looked at Lyra Song, whose crystalline features were now pulsing with patterns he recognized as concern. They were trapped between advancing security teams and desperate pirates, in maintenance tunnels that suddenly felt a lot more like a cage. But Devon had spent 3 years learning every corner of these tunnels, every quirk of the station's systems. And he had something the pirates didn't, a friend who could access those systems. "Isha," he said, a plan forming. "How good are you at playing with atmospheric pressure?" The droid's response held that same hint of amusement from earlier. "I thought you would never ask." As security teams converged on their position and the Stellar Wraith's engines began to power up, Devon realized that the hard part of their escape was just beginning. But looking at Lyra Song, seeing the trust in those 3 cosmic eyes, he knew that whatever came next, he had made the right choice. Sometimes, he reflected, the most human thing you can do is prove everyone wrong about humanity. The maintenance shaft filled with the sound of emergency bulkheads slamming shut as Isha executed their plan. Through the station's ancient pipes and conduits, Devon could feel the rumble of changing atmospheric pressures. "I have created a cascading series of pressure differentials," Isha announced. "Security teams will be forced to take alternate routes, buying us approximately 7 minutes." "What about the Stellar Wraith's crew?" Devon asked, helping Lyra Song navigate a particularly narrow section of tunnel. "They appear to be." Isha paused, their processors whirring. "Experiencing technical difficulties." A distant string of curses in various languages suggested that the pirates had discovered their ship's external airlock wasn't responding to commands. Lyra Song's crystalline form pulsed with patterns that the translator interpreted as both amusement and concern. "Your droid companion has an interesting approach to problem-solving." "Isha's full of surprises," Devon replied. "Speaking of which, can your people really harmonize with energy like the stories say?" The alien's 3 eyes swirled with silver patterns. "We do not harmonize with energy. We harmonize with the fundamental frequencies of reality itself. But such abilities require focus and preparation. In this suit, confined and running, I am limited." A sudden explosion rocked the station, causing them all to stumble. Aisha's voice came through filled with static. "The Stellar Wraith's crew has breached their own airlock. They are now in the station proper, and they appear to be quite angry." Devon consulted his tablet's map. They were approaching a junction where the maintenance tunnels intersected with the station's cargo transfer system. It was meant for moving supplies between levels, but right now it might be their only chance. "How do you feel about zero gravity?" he asked Lyra Song. "My species evolved in the spaces between stars," came the reply. "Absence of gravity is our natural state." "Good, because..." Devon was cut off by the sound of weapons fire behind them. A plasma bolt scorched the wall nearby, superheating the metal. "Time to move." They reached the cargo junction, a vast vertical shaft that ran the height of the station. Supply crates moved up and down on magnetic tracks, controlled by the station's automated systems, or in this case, by a certain maintenance droid. "I have modified the cargo routing protocols," Isha announced. "Jump when ready." Devon looked at Lyra Song. "Trust me." Those 3 cosmic eyes met his, and for a moment, he felt like he was looking into the heart of a galaxy. "You have earned it, short-lived one." Together, they pushed off from the platform just as another plasma bolt sizzled past. The cargo shaft's emergency systems detected the breach and killed the artificial gravity. They were suddenly floating in a massive vertical tunnel lined with moving crates and sparking power conduits. "This is where it gets complicated," Devin said, pulling a maintenance tool from his belt. Its magnetic grapple, meant for retrieving drop tools in Zerog, would have to serve a different purpose now. Above them, the pirates had reached the junction. Their curses echoed down the shaft as they discovered the lack of gravity. But these were experienced spacers. They wouldn't be slowed for long. "Isha, we need a path down to the lower docking ring," Devin called out, using the magnetic grapple to pull them from crate to crate. "Preferably one that doesn't end with us getting shot." "Processing," the droid replied. "I should mention that station security has finally noticed my modifications to their systems. My access is becoming limited." Lyra Song, who had been quiet for the past few moments, suddenly spoke. "The frequencies. They're wrong." "What?" Devin asked, narrowly avoiding a passing cargo container. "The station's systems, their harmonics are distorted, like an instrument out of tune." The alien's crystalline form began to pulse with deep blue light. "Perhaps I can help your droid friend." Before Devin could ask what they meant, Lyra Song began to sing. It wasn't like their earlier songs of sadness. This was something older, deeper, a sound that seemed to resonate with the station itself. The cargo shaft's lights flickered, and for a moment, Devin could have sworn he saw patterns in the energy conduits that mirrored the ones flowing through Lyra Song's crystalline form. "Fascinating," Isha said. "The harmonic interference is creating new access pathways in the station's systems. I have never seen anything like it." "Less admiring, more escaping," Devin suggested, though he too was awestruck by the display. The pirates above them had begun firing wildly into the shaft, their shots going wide in the zero gravity. "Route calculated," Isha announced, "though you may not like it." Devin looked where the droid was directing them, toward a waste reclamation chute. "You're right. I don't like it. Your species has a saying," Lyra Song observed as they maneuvered toward the chute. "Beggars cannot be selective about their options." "Close enough." Devin grinned despite their situation. "Isha, what's on the other side of that chute?" "A processing chamber, currently offline for maintenance. Beyond that, access to docking ring C." "But Devin," the droid hesitated. "The Stellar Wraith is not the only vessel pursuing you now. Station security has scrambled interceptors." Above them, the pirates had figured out Zerog maneuvering and were getting closer. The waste chute looked better by the second. "One problem at a time," Devin said, positioning himself and Lyra Song near the chute's entrance. "Ready?" The alien's response was to grip his hand, their crystalline fingers intertwining with his. "Together, short-lived one. Your courage has earned that much." As they pushed off toward the chute, Devin reflected that sometimes the craziest plans were the only ones that worked. He just hoped that whatever waited on the other side, their luck, and Aisha's help, would hold out a little longer. The sound of their pursuers' frustrated shouts faded as they plunged into darkness, guided only by trust and desperation. But somewhere in that darkness, Lyra Song's song continued, harmonizing with the station's dying systems in ways that defied human understanding. Sometimes, Devin thought, the best partnerships were the ones you never saw coming. The waste reclamation chute ended exactly as gracefully as Devin had expected, with them tumbling into a massive processing chamber filled with deactivated sorting machinery. Their pressurized suits protected them from the worst of the smell, but that was the least of their concerns. "Station security vessels are moving to blockade all departure vectors," Isha reported through their comms. "The Stellar Wraith has also repositioned to cover the primary escape routes." Devin helped Lyra Song navigate through the maze of dormant processing equipment. "Please tell me you have better news about our immediate situation." "Defining better is subjective," the droid replied. "But I have located a surplus maintenance shuttle in Bay C-17. It is scheduled for decommissioning, which means its tracking beacon may be unreliable." "An unreliable ship is still better than no ship," Devin said, checking his tablet's map. "How do we get there?" The direct route is heavily patrolled. However, Aisha's transmission cut off abruptly. Aisha. Devin tapped his comm unit frantically. Your mechanical friend has been detected, Lyra Song said, their crystalline features pulsing with concern. I can feel the station's systems shifting, trying to isolate and contain the intrusion. Devin felt his heart sink. Without Aisha's guidance, their chances of escape dropped dramatically. But before he could voice this concern, Lyra Song's form began to resonate with a new pattern, one that seemed to ripple through the very walls around them. Your friend showed me how your technology sings, the alien said. Perhaps I can sing back. Their three eyes closed in concentration, and the melody that emerged was unlike anything Devin had heard before. It wasn't sad like their prison song, or powerful like their harmonic interference. This was something precise, mathematical. The nearest computer terminal flickered to life, its display showing rapidly scrolling data. What are you doing? Devin asked, amazed. Your station's systems operate on frequencies, patterns of energy that flow like music. My people learned to sing to the stars themselves before your species learned to make fire. This, Lyra Song's features rippled with what might have been embarrassment. This is simply a different kind of song. The terminal stabilized, showing a maintenance map of the station. Devin grinned. You're amazing, you know that. So I have been told, Lyra Song replied, their translator somehow conveying dry humor. Now shall we help your friend? Working together, they used Lyra Song's harmonic abilities to create what the alien called resonance patches in the station's network. It wasn't as complete as Isha's access had been, but it was enough to track security movements, and more importantly, to locate where Aisha had been isolated. They've contained your droid friend in a quarantined server node, Lyra Song announced. But they cannot delete them without authorization from Station Command. We have time, though not much. An explosion somewhere above them emphasized this point. The pirates weren't going to give up their valuable prize easily. We need a diversion, Devin said, studying the station schematic. An idea began to form. Crazy, dangerous, but possibly their only chance. Lyra Song, how much can you affect the station's systems with your harmonics? The alien's features pulsed with curiosity. More with proper focus. Less if we must keep running. Why? Devin pointed to a section of the map. Because I think it's time we turn the hunters into the hunted. The next 10 minutes were a carefully orchestrated chaos. Using Lyra Song's abilities, they triggered environmental alerts in multiple sections of the station, sending security teams scrambling. Meanwhile, Devin used his maintenance codes to initiate emergency protocols in strategic areas. Protocols that, when combined with Lyra Song's harmonic interference, created a very specific pattern. The Stellar Wraith's crew is being herded, Lyra Song observed, understanding dawning in their cosmic eyes. You're using their own pursuit against them. Right into a section where Aisha still has partial control, Devin confirmed. 3, 2, 1. On cue, a series of bulkheads slammed shut, trapping the pirates in a section of the station that suddenly found itself experiencing severe gravitational fluctuations. The sound of cursing in multiple languages was cut off by emergency seals engaging. Crude, but effective, Lyra Song commented. Now, about your friend. They found the server node where Aisha had been quarantined. While Devin kept watch, Lyra Song sang to the computer systems, a complex melody that seemed to make the air itself vibrate. Suddenly, their comm unit crackled to life. That Isha's voice came through was an interesting experience. Welcome back, Devin grinned. Feel like helping us steal a shuttle? Given that my ethical subroutines have already classified this as a rescue mission, stealing seems an inappropriate term. But yes, I will help. Bay C-17 is currently unguarded thanks to your creative use of station protocols. They moved quickly through maintenance corridors, guided by Aisha's directions and Lyra Song's harmonic sensing of security movements. The shuttle, when they reached it, looked exactly as promised, old, unreliable, and perfect for their needs. One problem, Devin said as they approached the craft. I'm not exactly a pilot. Lyra Song's features rippled with what the translator interpreted as amusement. My people navigate by singing to solar winds and stellar harmonics. I believe I can handle your primitive propulsion systems. Station security is scrambling additional interceptors, Isha warned. And the Stellar Wraith is powering weapons. Devin looked at their unlikely escape craft, then at his even more unlikely companion, ready to show them how primitives and myths fly. Lyra Song's response was a new song, one that made the shuttle systems light up like a festival display. I believe your people have another saying. Let's show them what we've got. As they powered up the shuttle, Devin couldn't help but smile. Sometimes the best moments in life came from taking chances on the impossible. And right now, impossible was starting to look pretty good. Space around Station 84 had become a dangerous dance of ships and energy weapons. The maintenance shuttle, despite its age, moved with unexpected grace as Lyra Song guided it through the chaos. Their crystalline fingers moved across the controls while they sang, somehow harmonizing with both the ship's systems and the very vacuum around them. The Stellar Wraith is moving to intercept, Isha reported through their jerry-rigged comm system. Station security vessels are approaching from 3 vectors. Devin watched from the co-pilot's seat as energy beams cut through space around them. Any chance they'll shoot each other instead of us? The pirates are broadcasting our presence as a stolen vessel containing dangerous cargo, Isha replied. Station security is now cooperating with them. Of course they are, Devin muttered. Then he noticed something odd about how Lyra Song was flying. They weren't trying to escape the blockade. Instead, they were moving in a complex pattern, almost like a resonance spiral, Lyra Song explained, noting his confusion. Every system, from the smallest atom to the largest star, has its own frequency. Find the right harmony. Their song changed pitch, and suddenly the shuttle's engines began performing well beyond their specifications. That's impossible, Devin said, watching the power readings. These engines shouldn't be capable of this kind of output. Impossible is simply harmony you haven't found yet, Lyra Song replied. Their 3 eyes swirled with patterns of gold and silver as they continued to sing. The shuttle danced between weapon fire, its movements becoming increasingly erratic yet somehow purposeful. Devin realized that Lyra Song wasn't just flying. They were creating a pattern. Each dodge, each seemingly random acceleration was part of something larger. The station's sensor arrays are experiencing unusual interference, Isha reported, as are the pursuing vessels. Their targeting systems are becoming unreliable. Devin grinned as understanding dawned. You're not just flying. You're singing to their systems, aren't you? All technology has a song, Lyra Song confirmed. Your species builds without hearing it, but the music is there. And like any song, they hit a particularly complex series of notes, and suddenly half the station's external lights flickered. It can be changed. The Stellar Wraith fired another volley, but their weapons were clearly struggling to lock on. Station security vessels weren't faring much better, their formations becoming increasingly disorganized as their instruments fed them conflicting data. We still need a way out, Devin said, checking their fuel levels. Even with your harmonics, we can't keep this up forever. Lyra Song's features pulsed with what might have been mischief. Perhaps it's time to show you why my people are called the Crystalline Chorus. Their song changed again, becoming something ancient and powerful. The shuttle's viewscreen crystallized with patterns of light that matched the flowing colors in Lyra Song's form. For a moment, Devin thought he could see something in the space ahead of them, like a fold in reality itself. What you call space, Lyra Song explained, their voice harmonizing with their song, is simply the lowest note in reality's symphony, but there are higher octaves. The patterns on the viewscreen intensified, and suddenly space itself seemed to ripple. Devin felt a sensation like a musical note too deep to hear but impossible not to feel. The pursuing ship's sensors must have detected something too, because they suddenly broke off their attack patterns. They are detecting a massive energy surge, Isha confirmed, unlike anything in their databases. Hold on, Lyra Song said, their song reaching a crescendo. This may feel unusual. The ripple in space expanded, becoming a curtain of crystalline light. As they passed through it, Devon had a moment of perfect clarity. He understood, just for a second, what it meant to hear the music of reality itself. Then everything shifted, and the station, the pirates, and their pursuers vanished, replaced by an entirely different field of stars. Pursuers vanish, replaced by an entirely different field of stars. What? What did you just do? Devon asked, once he could speak again. Showed you a higher harmony, Lyra Song replied, their features rippling with exhaustion but also joy. We are approximately 7 light years from the station, far beyond their sensor range and their understanding. Devon laughed in disbelief. You could have done that at any time. Just shifted through space. No, Lyra Song turned all 3 eyes to him. Such harmonics require tremendous focus and energy. I could not have done it while caged. Even now, it was only possible because... They paused, seeming to search for the right words. Because I was not singing alone. What do you mean? Your trust, your courage, even your primitive ship systems, they became part of the harmony. My people have long believed that the greatest songs are never sung alone. Today, you proved us right. Isha's voice came through the calm. While this is fascinating, perhaps we should discuss where we go from here. I am now technically a fugitive from station authority, and Devon's maintenance career appears to be at an end. I think, Lyra Song said, their features shimmering with new patterns, that perhaps this is an opportunity. My people have long avoided contact with younger species, believing them too disharmonious to understand us. But today, a human and a machine proved that assumption wrong. There are others among my kind who believe as I do, that it is time for new songs to be sung. Are you suggesting what I think you're suggesting? Devon asked. My people need envoys, those who can bridge the gap between our harmonies and your more direct ways. And I know some places, far from here, where those who seek to build such bridges would be welcome. Their features rippled with hope. What do you say, short-lived one? Ready for a new adventure? Devon looked at the unfamiliar stars around them, then at the being who had shown him that the universe was far more wonderful and strange than he had ever imagined. Will there be more impossible things? With your species involved. I'm counting on it. As they plotted a course to whatever waited ahead, Devon reflected that sometimes the greatest journeys begin with a simple choice to help someone in need, and sometimes the most important bridges are built by those brave enough to reach across the void between stars. Behind them, in Station 84's logs, a simple maintenance worker would be marked as missing, presumed dead in a shuttle accident. But somewhere out there, among the harmonies of space, new songs were waiting to be sung.